WWE are reportedly willing to sign CM Punk if the fans demand it. There's apparently tension between AEW and a former WWE star, and a tag team has split on SmackDown. Stay tuned for all the deets. Now, as is the case with big CM Punk, when he gets the one mention, it's sort of like something we're going to get to in a bit with Kevin Owens. When he gets the one mention, it tends to be that he gets mentioned a lot. It's sort of, he's just one of those guys where you know, he makes the news and immediately there's a lot of speculation whenever he is in the headlines. There's a lot of things going on at once. This news coming though from the WWE side here. WWE's door for a CM Punk return apparently might not be closed forever, as Dave Meltzer reported in The Observer that while there is negativity about Punk within the organization, WWE are not completely opposed to bringing him back if the fans want him to return and express as much. Meltzer also noted, while every creative head has their plan, this creative side is not looking at being combative with the audience like Vince McMahon often was. So you heard the man, you get an envelope, you get a piece of paper, you get your shiniest crayon, and you write, "I want CM Punk." And then you just post it off to Stamford.
And it'll happen. It will happen.
It's sort of like Salvador Dali, where you could just draw a mustache. You just whap the WWE logo on, stick a stamp on it, and it'll just arrive.
And it'll arrive. When they're saying demand it, I assume they're meaning they don't want a backlash with the audience. They don't want the fans chanting CM Punk, and if it's vocal enough, they don't want it not happening.
Yeah.
And they'd be happy to accommodate what the fans want. In the past, as it references in that report, we've seen so many times Vince McMahon's creative team had a natural star waiting to happen that the fans got behind. We saw it with Matt Cardona when he was Zack Ryder. We saw it with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
We saw it with so many talents where the fans were behind Dolph Ziggler.
Sometimes you resist it and it backfires horribly.
Yeah, and thankfully we have seen with the WWE currently when someone is popular and is gaining momentum and fans want to see it, it happens. LA Knight, we've seen it with him. He was relegated as a manager, and we've seen it happen. So if the fans want something in current WWE landscape, it can happen if the fans want it, and CM Punk's probably no different.
So it's a situation that gets brought up a lot on my streams on Thursday nights. Big shout out, 6 p.m. Thursdays. We're usually driving a truck or playing marbles. Tune in.
Oh, yeah.
But essentially, the Punk situation returning to WWE gets brought up a lot, and it's sort of like a lot of people are split. Some people are like, yeah, I can see it. Some people are more along the lines of, you know, it's just going to cause problems. You know, how do you manage it? And I'm sitting there going like, well, if there's a lot of money to be made, if the fan base really wants it, or the majority of the fan base really want it, it'd be wise to kind of lean into it. It doesn't mean it has to be a 5-year deal. It doesn't mean it's got to be anything more than a 1-year run. Like, it can be as small or as comprehensive as they want, right? And it's WWE. As much as, you know, there was a lot of drama backstage in AEW, I don't think that sort of stuff's going to fly there.
No.
And I think as a company, they've dealt with a lot of this sort of stuff before. Look back to the 90s, look back to Bret Shawn.
Yeah, everyone does return eventually.
You know, you can put him in a locker room on his own if you really have to, and people don't want him there, and you can just sort of surround him with the people that need to be in and around his storylines. And yes, it's a bit segregation-y like it was with Collision
in AEW. That's where it went wrong.
But you're not exactly going to give him his own show. You know, you can kind of contain him to a set number of faces he's interacting with, should that be the case. But then the question there is he willing to do that? So there's a lot kind of on either side here, and it's not surprising WWE are kind of openly going, well, if you want him, you know, we'll do everything we can to get him, because ultimately they're wanting to broaden their fan base as much as possible. They're wanting to make it, you know, clear to the fans that they want to deliver to the fan base after so long of the fan base kind of just getting
shafted.
Just a little bit, kind of just shouting things they want, and it's just go, no, you're going to have this instead.
We saw them shouting for CM Punk on SmackDown last night. I mean, obviously it's going to be hard to tell how much a general audience wants, because in Chicago, it's CM Punk's hometown.
Yeah,
and Chicago is a certain type of wrestling fan that is very, very passionate in their chants. Whereas it might not be the same if you go to another city where they maybe don't care as much about CM Punk. But from last night's SmackDown post-show and during the show, the CM Punk chants were loud.
Yeah, and the news ain't stopping there with Punk. So we're going to mention him again in a headline. He might pop up and choke me out with the Anaconda voice, but we'll see. CM Punk has apparently met with at least one person close. Apparently one person close to CM Punk, according to Fightful Select, has confirmed that he's spoken to a WWE higher up recently, but no context of the conversation was provided. So again, not exactly outside of the wheelhouse, right?
Yeah, so like
there's going to be a lot of conversations happening with a lot of wrestlers worldwide, right? We've heard instances in the past of talents being approached from New Japan with representatives of the company flying over there and just meeting them over dinner, right?
Yeah.
This sort of thing must happen around the clock, really, with a numerous number of talents.
And we don't know what level that higher up is. We don't know, as it says in the report, there was no context given to that conversation or what it was about. It's just interesting that after weeks and weeks of there being... Oh, is there talks? Oh, the talks report, it wasn't really what it was. There was no talks between WWE, no higher ups.
Dinner between two mates who happens to be higher up. Like it's,
it could be something, it could be nothing, but it does make tonight for Survivor Series that bit more unpredictable and a bit more exciting, because we genuinely don't know if CM Punk is going to be there. And if he
rocks up, I mean, WWE, it's the one thing that Vince mandated that I think will always forever be a fixture of the company's future. Is WWE is all about moments, right? And to have Punk return in front of a Chicago crowd,
I don't think it gets much bigger.
Sort of the prodigal son, I guess, of the company, the guy who left and was never ever going to return. So it is kind of one of those. Like, how many times does a talent get to have two
returns in their
major returns in the home
city? Right.
Sorry if we're shaking a bit. It's a bit cold in here.
Bit cold in here.
Just a bit cold in here. As we move over to the AEW side of the fence, negotiations over Ronda Rousey's Ring of Honor debut apparently haven't been particularly smooth. Ronda made her Ring of Honor debut, of course, on the Friday, November 17th taping of Ring of Honor TV, teaming with Marina Shafir to defeat Athena and Billie Starkz, which was a rematch from their Wrestling Revolver kind of.
Yeah, the indie date that they did where there was a match that ended with not a clean finish. They did the rematch on Ring of Honor.
But apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, fans shouldn't expect to see Ronda back in a Ring of Honor ring anytime soon. As he reported in The Observer, the UFC Hall of Famer isn't looking to wrestle regularly at the moment, and she worked with Ring of Honor just sort of as basically a favor to alleviate a complex political issue and help her friend Marina Shafir. Meltzer noted the Wrestling Revolver match came together late, as Tony Khan has to approve all indie bookings for AEW and Ring of Honor talent, and he was reluctant to allow his wrestlers to perform as AEW had 3 shows in the market that week already.
Very oversaturated in that market.
Dynamite, Collision and Full Gear, and here's another one of my stars at a different show. You know, it might give somebody a reason not to
go to their show.
So eventually Khan apparently agreed to let his talent wrestle under condition that the Revolver match was a DQ finish and he could book the rematch on Ring of Honor TV the next night where Rousey would win. This led to a lot of tension apparently regarding negotiations, but it was basically conceded that as far as the matches went, it all turned out great in the end. Ronda found herself under pressure to work for Tony Khan during the negotiations, even though she was just wanting to work the match so she could team with Shafir and put a spotlight on her friend.
And that's the crux of it. The tension coming from it is Tony maybe being like, Ronda's a big star, Ronda's a big name, we want to bring her in. But Ronda has been quite open to the fact that she's not really wanting to wrestle right now.
Do you think he just printed off 50 contracts, sellotape, one to the door, one to the chair, one to the mirror,
accidentally
everything, just every surface is just covered like presents wrapped up. It's just covered in contracts.
I think this is I don't think we'll see Ronda much in AEW or Ring of Honor. Obviously, it looks like this was just a favor that she was doing. It was just kind of random, though, wasn't it? It was sort of like last week.
It sort of happened.
It was like, oh my God, Ronda's on Ring of Honor.
I'd be keen to see Ronda do more independent dates for sure, because I think it's a chance to reinvent her and kind of give her a different edge that maybe we didn't see in WWE. And as well, it sort of worked out nicely. Even if Ronda isn't planning on working for AEW or Ring of Honor, there's a natural jumping back in point there now.
Yeah.
Because she's appeared, she's been, presented on TV now. So I think that there is a way that you can kind of just ease her back in should she change her mind and should she want to go back and do that.
It'd be a good spot for her in doing some indie stuff, but then being able to just flexibly go into Ring of Honor and AEW and be like, hey, I'm here for the night. I'm here with my best mate, Marina. So like, maybe we'll see some stuff of that.
Well, moving back over to the SmackDown flavoured side of the fence, we had a return last night, didn't we?
Damn right, we did. Returning from a suspension, I should say storyline suspension, but it was a suspension nonetheless. Kevin Owens is back on SmackDown with the Grayson Waller effect, and it was advertised that Kevin Owens would appear, but instead, it wasn't Kevin Owens. It was Austin Theory dressed as Kevin Owens, and I say dressed.
What fun he had!
He was just in a Kevin Owens top, and he didn't change anything. Commentary was having a lot of fun with it. Corey Graves just being like, I know I've only been away for 2 weeks, but my God, does Kevin Owens look incredible. What a great shape Kevin Owens is in. Look at him chiseled. Obviously, the guys, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, didn't expect to see Kevin Owens, but lo and behold, Kevin Owens was here. He was back on SmackDown, made his way to the ring. had a little back and forth with them.
Can I just say I love the back and forth. It's like Kevin Owens is now just angry dad.
He's an angry
He's
dad.
Just angry dad because they're just jabbering on, yammering on, and he's just like, what are you doing?
He's like angry dad meets Deadpool because Grayson Waller and Austin Theory are running their mouths, being like, "Oh, LA Knight this, LA Knight that," and then Kevin Owens is like, "Oh my God, guys, do you not watch the show? When you say someone's name, they appear, like Joe Hendry does." But LA Knight did it, and they said his name third time. LA Knight walks down to the ring. LA Knight, yeah. And it sets up a tag team match. We got to see LA Knight team with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens return on SmackDown. I can't wait to see what he does. It's a shame he's not booked on Survivor Series.
Yeah, maybe we'll see him in some way, shape, or form. I did enjoy the kind of back and forth that they had as a four.
Yeah.
It worked really well. It's not that I want LA Knight to just be kind of thrown and kept in this position.
Yeah.
But if it's kind of a holding pattern for a couple of weeks, I'm all for it.
I feel like it's a holding pattern until Logan Paul's back on TV.
Yeah.
And then you can get LA Knight and Logan Paul. Or maybe a 6-man at some point. I feel like Logan would seamlessly fit in with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. We saw it in London right on the SmackDown before Money in the Bank. Grayson Waller and Logan Paul, they had a lot of chemistry in that segment, so I'm for it.
Well, keeping it with SmackDown, and now for some sad news, everybody. Aww. You better all do that at home. Just go back 5 seconds, do it in time. So while there's been tension building slowly in recent weeks, it hit a boiling point last night for the Brawling Brutes. Now, last week, Butch accidentally kicked Ridge, and it was an accident. He didn't intend to. There was a bit of a miscommunication, and it sort of somebody got out of the way and ba-boom, nailed him in the face. And that was noted during the entrance to the match against Pretty Deadly last night, but then during the match, Butch goes to, I think, tag in Ridge, and Ridge just drops off the apron and stands back against the barricade. And Butch is looking at him like, what? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. And then Ridge walks out. And there's a guy in the audience, it sounds like, he's like, what the F, Ridge? And it's great. But Ridge sort of walks out just looking despondent, and Butch has to take on Pretty Deadly alone. And he does a pretty good job of it, but he kind of gets that sneaky roll-up loss. 2-on-1, quick tagging. They're able to just get the better of him.
He does lose there, and unfortunately it looks like this might be the end of the Brawling Brutes, although Sheamus is set to be back on TV at some point soon. Maybe we'll see them reconcile, but also there's folk in NXT that you could bring up as a new Brawling Brutes to sort of keep that, and
everybody knows when you stick new in front of a team, it makes it so much better. But
Butch, maybe we'll get this is his way of becoming Pete Dunne.
Adam laughed at it a bit last weekend, but I thought there's a way you can extend this without having to do it immediately. You don't need to do an immediate break, an immediate fall apart of everything. Sheamus can come in and be that Dr. Shelby style mediator for a little bit, but things again just don't gel maybe, and then you can do a slow fall apart. I'd really like to see Ridge Holland, entering the heavyweight division prominently eventually. So I feel like a run in NXT for him as a bit of a powerhouse would be fantastic, especially with it getting, TV deal and it, potentially becoming more of a third brand. It's not going to feel very much like a step down if he comes back from the main roster and guns straight for the big belt. But I think, there's innumerable things you can do with Butch or Pete Dunne or whatever they're going to do with him. And of course, Sheamus is just at a level where, it's Sheamus, let him do what he wants.
He can do whatever the hell he wants.
As long as Sheamus is happy, I'm happy. That's it for your second dose of lovely bumper weekend wrestling news. Make sure you keep it here with us tonight. We've got Adam and Andrew live, youtube.com/cultaholic/live. With all of the live reactions for Survivor Series. Of course, we've got all of the usual content coming out post pay-per-view, any breaking news afterwards. Just all of the standard stuff. All of the standard stuff. Podcast is also up, and make sure you check out our website, cultaholicshop.com, for our Black Friday sale. 50% off absolutely everything. No code needed. Everything applied at the checkout. You can get Blart socks, mugs, Christmas cards, t-shirts, hoodies, the works. Get yourself to cultaholicshop.com. Tatty bye.